Hi! Welcome back to Books, Tea and Biscuits. I'm Jojo.
And I'm Kim.
And today, being as it's May review...
Yeah, we've got quite a few books.
I haven't been well, as you may or may not know, so we couldn't really do the review in May.
No.
And plus, I've been doing a course, very intensive course, which is another reason why we couldn't do the review in May. And now my voice is still bad, but I'm getting okay. So we're doing the review now, in the beginning of June.
2nd of June. But it will be uploaded as soon as possible.
Yes.
But yes, we have done our May reading, and tonight we'll start our June reading, but Jo's probably already started hers, and she's probably already 3 books in. But I'll start mine tonight. So, should I go first?
Yeah. I want to do Before I do, I just want to mention this. My niece, my lovely little niece, has bought me this little niece. She's lovely, and she's bought me this, and there's 100 pages for me to write.
And it's A4?
Yes, because I've run out the 32 books and counting, and so I've got addresses here. So I've used all this for all the other, even though there's some books I haven't quite read yet, but I've got to read them for July, so they're written down there. So I've finished with that one.
But that one's quite small and compact, isn't it?
Oh, it's lovely. I love this one.
Yeah. You're going to keep it?
Of course I am. And of course I've got this one now that I can use, so thank you, Little Jo.
Was that a thank you gift, wasn't it?
Yes, it was. I think so.
Yeah.
Anyway, thank you, Little Jo.
Yeah, she's going to use that starting soon. So,
yes.
The first one that I'll be reviewing is actually a book I didn't like, but I want to get it out of the way because I don't want to keep talking about it too much. And Jo warned me that I wouldn't like the book, and I didn't think I would, but because obviously I studied English literature at university, this is a book that was recommended to me. Even if you didn't like it, they say you have to read it throughout your lifetime, then you know you're an avid...
you sort of feel compelled to
a literature lover, yeah. And that is The Bell Jar by Sylvia Plath. So it's a semi-autobiographical novel based partly on Sylvia Plath's life, and it's about the protagonist called Esther Greenwood, and she moves to New York for part of a ladies' magazine where she gets a scholarship, and you know she writes, takes pictures and things like that. And it's more to do with like conversing her life through New York everyday life. She's from Boston, I believe, Massachusetts. But things happen. She talks about her, or the person she used to have a crush on, Buddy, and how she has a crush on him, and he eventually likes her but is already going out with somebody else, and then she loses her virginity later in life, but she hemorrhages after they've done the deed, and then after that it's all about finding her friend dead, Joan, who's hung herself, and it's just so depressing. The first half of the book I say isn't that bad because he talks about their everyday life in New York with her friends from the magazine put up in the hotel by the company, and it's when she leaves and she finds out she's actually not got the writing course in the end, they don't accept her onto it, that she struggles through life. She's living with her mum again, she's sharing a bed with her mum I believe. Yeah, it's just really depressing to the point where when I was reading it was affecting me because it gets you down. Because I believe she tries to commit suicide in the book 3 times. Once she goes to take a razor blade into the bathroom and doesn't bring herself to do it, then she gets committed to an asylum, and she has to have like electroshock therapy a few times. She absolutely hates it. Well, why would you like that? People lie to her throughout her life. She tries to take pills, and someone finds her and helps her obviously, but again she's committed to the asylum. And then at the end, for me the book doesn't actually end because yes, she's alive, but she's about to go into an interview and it just goes, and then I enter the room. You don't actually know what happens. But I didn't really like the book. Obviously the tagline at the front says I was supposed to be having the time of my life, but then people call this a near perfect work of art. But I get why it's called The Bell Jar, because she feels like her life is under the dome that you get in the chemistry labs. You know, everything's sour. She feels like, kind of like an experiment, let's say. So I get the connotation of the bell jar. I just don't like the actual work of art. Now, her writing style's really good. I like her writing, I don't like the story. So yeah, I don't think I'll be reading that again. It gets 2 stars from me, and that's just because Sylvia Plath is meant to be a master in written word. I know she's a poet as well. She's got another novel called Ariel. I know she hasn't written too many novels herself, but she's got poetry books and she's got one more novel. Don't think I'll be reading it if this is anything to go by. But yeah, this is going to the charity shop, or if anybody wants it, I'll be putting it on Vinted as well, giving that a 2 or 3 week run. If it doesn't sell, then I'll give it to the charity shop. So yeah, I don't think I'll be reading this ever again. It has scarred me for life. Because again, that is something that I know it happens throughout books that you read, because obviously in the book that I'll be reviewing later that Joe's read as well, you get death and exploration of death and suicide in there, and some of the injuries she has to suffer in that book are quite horrific. But this is like, because it's semi-autobiographical, it feels like we're reading about Sylvia Plath. Does that make sense? And the struggles that she's had to go through as well. And
I think a lot of her, from what I understand, some of her poetry and the few books that she did write, they're all the same in that respect, that it's all sort of saying, look, you know, and being depressive and basically it's there, the messages are all there in her writing, that she was going to at some point kill herself.
And she did at 31, I believe. So I'm not much older than when Sylvia Plath was, when she actually committed suicide herself. But yes, it's quite daunting to read. But people was telling me, you know, you need to read it. You know, it's that good that this is one of the books you have to read throughout your life. You can't call yourself a reader if you haven't read it. The same as the fact that people say to me, you haven't read The Lord of the Rings. I don't feel like reading them. I don't know why I listened and caved in and read this, because Joe warned me I wouldn't like it. I didn't listen and I still read it. But I thought it's a small book, it's not going to do too much damage. But yeah, it does affect you.
At one time, I think Sylvia Plath got the blame whenever you heard about anybody being desperate enough to end their lives. And it was always, you know, because of Sylvia Plath. Because
death was going on long before Sylvia Plath.
Yeah, it's just that they're saying that, you know, if that person had read any of her work, and it was her influence. So she used to get a lot of blame, press-wise, I think, regarding that. But it's not something. I'm not a fan of Sylvia Plath, and I'm always very, not cautious exactly, but critical of people hyping things up so much. And I'm thinking, I'll judge for myself. If I fancy reading the book, I'll read it, but not because it's being hyped, but because I'm intrigued.
Yeah. I was intrigued in this because in the original cover, I did like the original cover. This is a bit different from the original cover, but it was on my wish list and I didn't pay for it, so I got it sent for free.
You can't very well say, I want this, but I want this cover on it.
Exactly, but it does say, right, the very first page of the book, this edition is the original text from 1963 and it contains language that modern readers may deem offensive, which it did very much. Not things I feel offensive, because again I understand language and things like that, but I know a lot of other people would have found it offensive, especially with like everyday modern prose and things like that. So, but again, look on the back, it's called a modern classic. To me, this isn't something I'd consider a modern classic. It's famous, yeah, don't get me wrong. A lot of people like it, and again, call it a work of art. Joyce Carol Oates, a near perfect work of art. That's the only review on there, but I myself wouldn't have called it a classic. A classic to me, well, no, modern classic, but a classic book to me is like, it has to be epic, like, I don't know, Emma by Jane Austen, Great Expectations by Charles Dickens. They're classics. This isn't something that I'd consider a classic.
Yeah.
So that's my review on that. 2 stars out of 5 from me. I'm sorry, but if you like this, that I'm not dissing your opinion or anything like that. This is my opinion. I just didn't like it. Really depressive book. Yeah, especially the world we're in at the minute. I don't think this is something I should have read. But I don't think no matter what month or time of the year I'd have read it, I'd have liked it. I'm just saying that it's not a nice book to read, no matter what stage of life you're at. So yeah, 2 stars from me from that one.
the book I'm going to be reviewing is called Daisy in Chains. Now, this is, it's not a weird book.
I gave you that one, didn't I?
You did, and it's a very good book. You've got this woman Daisy, obviously, and she used to go out with this chappie who's currently in prison now, years ago when they were younger, and he was accused of murdering her because she went missing. They couldn't find her at all, and some of the girls had died in a specific way. So they caught this chappie and he was doing time, and he was insisting that he was innocent. So what he did, there's this very, very good barrister who tends to win all her cases. She won't bother with cases unless she's going to win them. So even if you are innocent, unless it's a winnable case, she will not do anything. She will have nothing to do with you. And he keeps writing to her and asking for her help, and or phoning, or some communication, and she's getting fed up and she keeps saying no. And then this one time she goes to see him, and you can see, the way it's written, it's sort of, you can hear the cogs in a, maybe he's actually got a case, maybe I could win this case. And there's all sorts of unusual stuff going on. And she meets, before she goes to see him, there's his group of people that believe he's innocent, and they're trying to get his case reopened. And one of them is this girl who she insists she's his girlfriend, even though he's in prison. And she insists this is, they've got this relationship, and it's very, very passionate and that. And his, I think it's his sister or his mum, or, there's a whole group of them. And she agrees to go and meet them. And she meets them, and they start telling her stuff. And she thinks there's something going on here, there's something not right. Maybe I need to look into it. And, there's people there saying, don't, he's just using you, he's done this. She goes to find all his colleagues that were with him in university to get their take on the supposed what had happened. And they're all quite ready to say, yes, he's done it. Not one of them sort of stick up for him, and she finds that very, suspect in its own way. It turns out there's a real twist in this story, absolute twist in this story, and you'll never crack it until you get to the end. And he is innocent. I'm not going to say who the guilty party is, but it's definitely not him. And Daisy isn't dead. That's the thing, and you find that out. It's very, very good, well written. Everything in there is a necessity. I don't think there's any background in there that you think, I wish she hadn't put that in, because you did need to know a lot of the background. There was one or two characters in it that I really hated. She was really good, the way she's read. I'll just do the synopsis for you. Hamish Wolfe is the accused. He's charming, magnetic and very persuasive. Famed for his good looks, he receives adoring letters every day from his countless admirers. He's also a convicted murderer facing life in prison. Who would join such a club? Maggie Rose is a successful lawyer and true crime author. Reclusive and enigmatic, she only takes on cases she can win. Hamish is convinced that Maggie can change his fate. Maggie is determined not to get involved. She thinks she's immune to the charms of such a man, but maybe not this time. Well, she is. She's immune to his charms, but things aren't what they seem. There is the person who's the real killer isn't who you think it is, and the person where Daisy has been all these years, you're shocked to find out. I don't want to really say, because you'd end up actually getting an idea on what's what if I say any more. But all the characters are in it are brilliant. I did like the girl who's got this, In fact, it reminds me a bit of Charles Manson and the girls in the Manson family. The one, she really thought she'd got this connection with him, and they would do anything for it. And this woman who thinks she's got this relationship with him, got this connection with him, is very much like that. And you can just actually visualise her. She's, every character in there is brilliant. I do recommend it. I understand why everybody can't praise it enough. She's a very good authoress, really is. I mean, the little logo bit at the bottom here says, "Would you fall for a serial killer? 3 of his victims did." Really, really good.
Yeah.
I recommend it. It's definitely a 5 out of 5. And it makes me want to read more.
More Sharon Bolton.
Yeah, because she is very, very good. You've read this, haven't you?
Yeah, years ago.
Yeah.
I think I've had that for about 7 years.
Yeah, and yeah, it's brilliant. Read it. You get the chance, read it. Don't care where you get it from. Whether you get it new from the library. Not that I've seen it in the library. But I've got a charity shop. You could get it in a charity shop, but I got it from Kid.
Yeah, well, I usually do. If I'm having a call on my bookcase, I'll get a bag ready of things I don't want. So, "Oh, Joe, I've got a bag of books here. Do you want to have a quick look?" And guaranteed she'll take about 4 or 5 out, and I'm reading them before I take them to the charity shop. But that's good because you get to read what I'm giving away if you haven't read them.
Pamela does that as well when I go to Pam's, and she'll say, "I've got some books," and I'll go through.
She's like a magpie.
I
Right, the next one I'm going to be reviewing, Joe has read this as well. That is I Will Find You by Harlan Coben. This was so good. There was parts of it I didn't like, but it was just more to do with the characters in the story, nothing else. But it's about a man called David Burrows, who is in prison, has been in prison for the last 5 years for the murder of his 5-year-old son, Matthew. Except on the first page you get given a spoiler that he didn't do it. So throughout the book he I don't know if to say without giving too much away, he gets help with escaping from prison. On his journey to finding his son, obviously you find out that he thinks the child's not his, and then it is his, and then it's not his, and then it is his again. Because they were having fertility issues in the family, so the wife got her sister to make an appointment at a sperm bank. But there's one rich family in the book who, they're the part to play in everything. They're the ones that not put the pieces together, but when we put the pieces together and when the author puts the pieces together, they're central to everything. So David escapes because his sister-in-law, after 5 years, because he has no visitors at all, he refuses to let anyone see him, but his sister-in-law comes to see him after 5 years, and she shows him a photograph of this little boy at a theme park, and even though it looks like David, they do believe it is him, and it is, but it's only a small resemblance on a blurred picture. But he does everything he can to find his son because he knows that he didn't kill him. Now, I like the fact that he was given help by, obviously, I kind of knew it was going to happen by that man, but you don't expect it, do you, to happen how it did? And I thought, is this man stupid? He's going to get caught. And what he was telling David Burrows to do, and there were so many loose ends with the escape, I thought he's going to get arrested, he's going to get caught.
But in all fairness, that escape was sort of on the hook.
Yeah.
It wasn't something that had been planned totally. It had been planned within 5 minutes.
Yeah.
and they asked for him to come and see this person, and David goes in to see this person, and they say, right, this is what we're going to do. So it's not a long drawn out proper plan that they've thought about and figured out. It's an off the cuff thing that they're just hoping will work.
Yeah, and each time he gets one over on the detectives and the FBI, he doesn't get caught, but one of the detectives who's on the FBI, the guy, what's his name?
Oh, I can't remember, but he's
Sarah
like,
and Max.
Yeah.
at first, he's all guns blazing, ready to go and get this guy, but then as you read each chapter and he gets a little bit more information, he understands that, yeah, David's escaped prison, but he knows why he's looking for his son.
Yeah.
So at the end, you're just rooting for this FBI agent to help him. So what happens is...
He looks at it, doesn't he, and he's sort of saying, yeah, this is a possibility, this could be true,
could happen.
He could be innocent. And his colleague, she's a bit more dot the I's, cross the T's.
The one that doesn't want to help.
Tough, it doesn't matter. The jury found him guilty, he's guilty, it doesn't matter if he's genuinely innocent. And that's her, there's no grey area, it's black or white, and tough if you're actually innocent and they found you guilty. That's not my problem. And that's how she looks at things. But he's sort of a bit more humanistic, isn't he? He's a bit more... I think that's why he's the better agent, because he will think things through and calculate. And this guy has always kept his head down, hasn't he, while he was in prison. He tried to keep out of things. They tried to kill him in prison, and he tries to keep his head down. So this FBI agent, Max, is sort of thinking, well, he's always been, an ideal person. He's never done anything. So now why is he doing this? So he would look at it that way. So I always found him the better agent.
Yeah, me too. I really
She's too gun-ho and I don't care attitude, which you can't really have.
Because even when he was telling her, this is why I think the way I do about this case, she wouldn't have any of it, would she?
No, she wouldn't.
She was like, no, we need to go and get him. He's escaped from prison, he's an escaped convict, he's this, he's that. But I was like, no, just listen to him. And I was screaming in the book, just listen to him. Because at the point that they almost catch him, David's at the place where his son is, and they're like basically hot on his tail, aren't they? But it's because of Max and obviously the person that helped, I don't want to give too much away, David escaped from prison, that everything's okay in the end. But like,
there's a lot in it. I mean, when they're saying that he's an escaped murderer and that he's, vicious and everything, he's not, and they find that out because he goes to this woman's house who was in court, and it was her testimony that got him put in prison, really. And he goes there to see her because he wants the truth. And she's, he does nothing to her, he just asks her some questions. And she's honest with her answers. She tells him the actual truth then. She's saying, well, I was told this, that you had genuinely killed your son, and that if I said this, then I'm letting justice do the job, sort of thing. And obviously money came into it, which she needed. And he sort of just accepted what she said, he believed her, he thanked her. And then when the police and the FBI turned up, and she was saying, I'm sorry, I don't know where he is, and all this.
But that's the thing, like,
he let me leave, so he can't be as vicious.
Yeah, that's the thing I felt. Once he'd gone to see her, because again, she was a crucial witness to the case. Obviously she was paid off and then she moved and changed her name. She was a crucial witness to the case for him going down. But now it feels like she kind of did the right thing this time.
But he did understand, didn't he?
And that was her
really
apology
understood
to him, because when the FBI came to her place, she told him to escape out the window and
where to go.
And then when the police come and the paramedics come, she wouldn't give any information away. She pretended like she didn't know, like she was this frail old woman, but she was all up there. So then each leg of the journey, it's not like it's a holiday, but it's like each part of the journey. So each chapter of the book where he's going on these little journeys, little things to find out where he's something. So he goes to the witness, and then he goes to his home and sees his auntie. He goes to his ex-wife's place where she works, and each person he goes to see puts a little nugget of information out there, don't they? And helps put the pieces of the puzzle together until in the end, obviously, but throughout this journey is helped by your sister-in-law. So in the end, when she's there with the person who they need to see, you find out the truth and what's happened.
Her new husband sort of seemed a bit more sympathetic.
Yeah.
He was more sort of aiding than anything. She was still thinking the worst of him,
Yeah.
even though all these things have been told to her, and look at this picture and all that. And it was her guilt that made her look at him in a guilty way, wasn't it?
And she blamed herself, really.
Well, so she should.
When he went to see her at a place of work,
Mm.
the first thing she did, which I thought she was going to scream and obviously call for security, but she hugged him and cried. And then when she explained, and when he had explained, she's the one that felt guilty. Even though she still believed that he'd done it, she said she felt guilty and didn't resent him because of her
What
story
she'd
and what
done,
she had done,
yeah.
which you find out through all of this. But there's so much packed into this book, isn't
There
there?
is.
What stars do you give it?
5.
Yeah, I'm there.
But he's a brilliant author anyway.
We like Harlan Coben
yes,
anyway,
we do.
but yeah,
We do.
5 out of 5 from both of us for this
Yes.
one. Really, really good.
Can't beat it.
Okay, have you got any more to review?
No, you've got that.
Okay, yeah. So then the next one, we both read this as well, but this is really good. I love this book.
It
And
is
this-
so different.
This
isn't it?
was the Pound Shop boy. I saw this in the Pound Shop and I just like the colour orange anyway. I mean, it's not my favourite colour, but I like the colour orange, and I saw this, I thought, oh, it's like mine. And I brought it and I said, Joe, you read this first, and when you're done, pass it on to me. We can do it as a book review, but it's really good. So it's about this lady, Nora, and she's kind of like an amateur, not detective, what is she like?
Well, she's sort of like a private
A
detective.
private
isn't she?
detective working for this couple called Seb and Leo. She's living in their basement and she thinks they don't know. Nora has got a horrible past, not in regards to
Things that have happened to her.
things that have happened to her.
She's been a victim. She's not been a perpetrator. She's
Yeah.
been the victim.
And it has made her turn to like drink and drugs and being on the street and things like that. But it's like 15 years later, when she's got herself sober, she's 15 years later, she gets this call from this mysterious number asking her to meet them at this diner. So she does, and they tell her, well, the people that she's meeting, a man and his wife, they tell her that their daughter is missing, Bonnie. Now, what they tell Nora is that they know that Bonnie's the adoptive daughter that Nora had given up 15 years ago. And then Nora, can't get my words out, Nora, she says that she doesn't care, she has no feelings for this child that she gave up, but after that point, everything she does is to help find this daughter. The injuries she gets and the things she has to do, the lies and the theft and, breaking into people's places. So after the meeting, she goes back to work. Well, obviously goes back home, but it's below work, the basement level. And again, she has to lie to them about the info that she wants. She goes, it's for a case, but she doesn't tell them why. And even though they know that she's living in the basement, and they know that
They're really nice, aren't
Yeah, they're
they?
really
the
nice,
two,
aren't
the two
they?
guys, the two owners of the detective agency, they're really nice.
yeah,
They care about
they
it,
understand. But obviously, what happens, again, without going into too much detail, because it's quite a thin book. It's about 279 pages in
don't
it.
they? Like that.
297 pages, yeah. What happens in this book is so good because we get all the detail without any extra wordiness, because some of the chapters are short, aren't they?
They are.
So it turns out that in the end they do find her daughter. She has to obviously kill quite a few people, but it turns out that Bonnie was looking for her mum anyway. She'd found the adoption papers and he's got her mum's name on. Bonnie was looking for her mum anyway, and she was she'd run away a few times already from her parents, so the police weren't really helping to look for her,
they
were
weren't
they?
interested.
And they weren't interested because they thought, oh, she's just going to come back soon. But after a couple of weeks, when she hadn't returned, obviously they contacted Nora to tell her. They knew what job she was in, so they wanted her help. But the people that had adopted Bonnie, they were dysfunctional anyway, and Bonnie was really the only thing keeping them still married. But it turns out that Bonnie was with this guy called Tommy, that was her boyfriend, and they were going to meet and run away together. But Bonnie was in this chat room for adopted kids, and her dad had turned up, asking her to meet him, and he was the one that had something to do with her kidnapping. Obviously, I don't want to go into any more detail around that because it's not until the last 10 chapters or something when we find out why.
The thing is, it brings in a lot of stuff, scientific stuff that it's such an unusual psychological thriller because you've got all this science stuff, and I don't want to say what it is because just ruin things. But the one thing I will say, I mean, it's obvious when we said that she'd been a victim when she was younger, then it's obviously she'd been raped, and that's how the child had been conceived, and that's why she didn't want to keep the child. But this job that she's sort of being forced to do, I mean, for years she's never even really thought about her daughter. No. And then when they come in and say she's been kidnapped or, she's missing or whatever, then even though she doesn't really know her daughter, the maternal instinct's there. She needs protecting. I know what happened to me, and because she feels she's got to look for her, it brings her into contact with the rapist, the guy that sort of left her for dead, doesn't it? And it goes even more into depth in there, and it's just. And
it's kind of like the things that happen.
Excuse me.
It's alright. Josie's letting the cat in. To me, it's kind of like the things that happened to Nora in her past have resurfaced again. Obviously, that's why this has happened. But she's kind of going through it again. Not that she's been raped again.
No, but she gets
beaten almost to death. To the point where in one scene she's hurt her ankle from fleeing from some the security place in the past. She's hurt her ankle and it's still not okay. But what happens is at the end of the book, when she's in another fight scene, somebody grabs her ankle and twists it in all different ways, and she's got this searing pain. But it's that maternal instinct in her and all the adrenaline and the energy that she's got that makes her keep going to stab this guy in the throat and do what she did. But it's like she's having to relive all that
and
again.
Goes through it all again
and be left for dead in the wilderness, because this is set in Vancouver in Canada and high in the mountains as well. It's on
and when she's trying to escape them, she does get some help from unexpected quarters, doesn't she?
Yes.
And she manages to get certain areas, and then she gets to find where her daughter's being kept and others, and the stuff that goes on there. It's brilliant. It's not something I've ever really read about before. I mean, I've read loads of psychological thrillers, obviously, and they're all in a similar vein, but this one just totally out there.
Yeah.
So it's brought in a subject and really played on that. So I've never known a book
really done
about it.
Her research on it. So Sheena Kamali is a Canadian authoress, author. She's been a stunt double before as well. She's been an actress. But it says, for fans of The Girl with the Dragon Tattoo, if you don't know The Girl with the Dragon Tattoo, it's written by Swedish author Stieg Larsson, who passed away before his books were published. And obviously they have now been so popular with mainstream readers and things. So I'm just going to quickly read out the back to you, and then you'll understand why it's similar to The Girl with the Dragon Tattoo. So it says, meet Nora Watts, the most compelling heroine since Stieg Larsson's Lisbeth Salander. It's late night, the phone rings. The man on the other end says his daughter is missing. Your daughter, the baby you gave away over 15 years ago, what do you do? And that just hooked me in. And again, they're selling this in the pound shop. If we'd have gone to Waterstones, this would have cost about $12.99 because it's hardback as well. It's got the dust sleeve on it and everything. Mm. It's not like it's a paperback. But it's a nice read, this was. I read this quite quickly, I believe. In 2 days. I read this 2 evenings because I couldn't put it down.
This is the thing with that. I'm trying to think now.
You don't want to put it down, do you? Because the chapters are so short too.
Yeah.
It's a really quick
I started it on the 23rd of March and finished it on the 24th of March. But I started reading it in the evening, probably 6-7 o'clock, and I finished it earlier as of the morning.
So like even chapter 1, obviously, it's just a page and a half, and then chapter 2, I'd say that's about...
chapters are really,
But the
really
font
good.
is quite big as well. And then chapter 3, look, is half a page. So that's it, you go through it so quickly, and then it's even sad when you have to eat your dinner or go back to the toilet because you're like, I just want to get back to it. But again, I work full time, you have to sleep unfortunately. I can't read all night. But yeah, I just couldn't wait to pick it up. And I was reading this, trying to read it on my lunch break at work as well. So,
which is easy to do because the chapters are so short.
Yeah, but when I have to go down to the canteen to warm up my dinner and then come back, I've lost about 10 minutes.
Well, and that's crucial.
Yeah, no, you can read at least 2 or 3 chapters in that one, especially here.
I know.
So do you give this 5 out of 5?
I do.
Well, I'd give it 6 out of 5 if I could.
Well, but we can't, so we have to go with the flow and say
5 glowing stars out of 5 from me.
Definitely.
Well done, Sheena Kamal, and I can't wait to read
any more of hers.
And I love this as well because I think with the books that we've mentioned, it's quite diverse, the authors as well, because Sheena Kamal, I believe she is Indian, she's an Indian author, but she grew up in Vancouver in Canada. So I like that. And then we've got Harlan Coben, who's a male author, and then Sylvia Plath, who is an American female author. So yeah, it's kind of in that vein of, you know, North America, Canada, but there's still quite a mix of authors here as well. So yeah, I really love her. Well done, Sheena Kamal, and I'll read another.
I want some more of your books.
Yeah.
So definitely I've got to keep it.
Love that. And that's all I've read for May, unfortunately. I did say in my last book I was meant to read. It ends with, I did mention in the last video I was meant to read It Ends With Us by Colin Hoover, but I haven't quite got round to reading this yet.
You will do.
But I will do. This will be coming up. I can't say when because our July is full with the books that we've got there and the books that Joe's given me as well.
We've got our books to do for June.
Yes.
Which...
mine are them.
Yes.
I said July, I meant June.
Yes, and I've got these ones for my June books, which is The Darker Shade of Magic, Lessons in Chemistry, and the one book I'm really looking forward to reading is A Good Girl's Guide to Murder.
That's been made into a TV series now.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
I know.
And what I've got for June, now mine are quite a bit chunkier than Joe's, but I'm going to try my best to read all of them. I've got Magnolia Parks.
I do like that picture.
Yeah, it's good. If this is good, I want the other 4 books as well for the series. So I've got Magnolia Parks by Jessa Hastings. I've got The Way I Used to Be by Amber Smith. All these ones that we're showing you, that we're reading over these last 6 months, are what I won in the Valentine's raffle. Then I brought a couple more after that, but majority of what I won. So we haven't paid for any of these. I did pay for Sheena Kamal because that was from the pound shop. I saw it and I had to buy it. But these ones, like the paperback ones, are from the raffle that I won. And then the last one I'll be reading is The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue by V.E. Schwab, and that is the same author of Joe's book that she'll be reading, A Darker Shade of Magic. I haven't yet read the ones that Joe's done, so what we're going to be doing later on in the year is we're just going to be swapping, because obviously I won the raffle, I do want to read them all, and Joe wants to read all of them as well. So we're going to have to do a swap as well.
So that's what I'm reading to do a review in June. But I've also read a few other books which I will be reviewing at some point in the year, but I've already read them.
That's what I've got to do with the housemaids, the engagement party and all them.
What we're going to do for July...
Yeah. I can't wait for these because these are...
I've ordered and I've got to pick them up because I bought them. The follow-ons to this, because Cinder is first. This is the Lunar Chronicles.
Lunar Chronicles by Marissa Mayer.
And they're a dark form of fairy tales.
Retellings, aren't they?
They are. And Cinder does more than lose a shoe. Put it that way.
Yeah.
It's not a shoe, it's a foot. So there's Cinder, her bionic foot. Cinder, which obviously Cinderella. Scarlet, which is Little Red Riding Hood. I've ordered Cressida, Cress, which is Rapunzel, and Winter, which is Snow White. Now there's little books in between, isn't there?
Fairies.
And Princess or whatever it's called. And I'm really looking forward to reading those two. Now I'll read Cress because it follows on to this.
Yeah.
And then you can read Cress while I'm reading Winter. Because our plan is to just do the
whole series for July.
Chronicles for July, not do any other book. but this for July because it's our birthday month.
Yes.
And we want to do some.
And we love that kind of thing.
Yes, we do. This is definitely a very unusual form of fairy tales, and we thought it was about time we did something like that.
Well, I first read these about 7 or 8 years ago. I remember one day I'd had my e-reader, this one, well, the older version of this one, in the car, and somebody had sent me a copy of that on ebook for only 99p. And I thought, I really want to read this. And I was late for work one day because I was reading in my car, and time just flew. It was only about 10 or 15 minutes later, and I'm so sorry, I got engrossed in this book. I didn't want to put it down, and then when I was going home, I'd be like sat in my car reading, and my sister said, "You're going to come home for dinner sometime?" I was like, "Oh, sorry, I'm just reading." She goes, "No, while driving." I said, "No, you're not, and that's why I'm late, because I've left work and I'm sat in the car in the car park." So I was still there, and then so I whizzed through Cinder, and then I'm like, "Oh no, there's more." So then I brought Scarlet, but then I don't know what had happened, but I haven't read the others. So I love them too, and I think I'm really going to love
I'm looking forward because I've got to pick them up because I've ordered them and they've come through, so I've got to go to Waterstones and get those, so I can start reading them after I've finished reading these.
We've got so
and
much
I go to the library near me as well, and I got some library books out, which I've already read. And then when I got some more out, which I've already read, and I'm really into the Railway Detective series. They're really good. They're written in a very similar vein to Agatha Christie.
Yeah.
And J. Gill. It's that sort of thing. Really good. And Edwin Marston, he writes like detective things, but in all sorts of cases, like he's got the ocean liners, and you've got a married couple who pretend to be single, and they're the detectives for the White Star Line, which everybody knows the White Star Line really existed because the Titanic was one of the boats it owned, and the sister,
the Britannic,
and so you've got actual ships in this series, so it's nice to have some factual stuff for a fictional story.
Yeah.
And the Railway Detective's really, really good. It's a whole series with Robert Colbeck, and he ends up getting married, and then he's got a little urn, and in this one, I think, this one, the baby's born in this while he's away, solving a crime. But they're really good. So I'm reading library books, and I got this as well. The picture of Dorian Gray, which we were discussing earlier on, weren't we? And it's so hard going. I know it's the way they used to talk in those days, but I just thought it was going to be something really, really easy and simple.
Rewritten for modern days.
Yeah. It's. You see, I don't know how he got Forever Cursed, except he wanted the picture to age and not him. And as everybody knows, in the story of Dorian Gray, that's what basically happened. But it is quite boring really, but I'm going to persevere. I'm going to be reading this sort of at night because my course finishes properly at the end of this week. So after that I'll be free during the day.
That's unusual for you to not whiz through a book, especially that big. Like you could read that for breakfast, but I feel with that one you're not willing to do that, are you? It's like,
no, I have to make myself, I think, I'll do a puzzle.
Is it worse or on the same par as Powerless?
Difficult because they're different periods of time.
We didn't like Powerless, did we?
We didn't like Powerless, but mainly because the stuff in there was ridiculous. A fight's a fight, no matter whether it's a make-believe story. A fight is a fight, and you have to act accordingly. You can't. It's just stupid, but it's difficult. That's as much as I will say. They are difficult that wise, because this is hard going, because obviously the way they used to talk in that period of time, they have about 10 sentences for one word,
Yeah. Surprised it's not in Latin or something.
Oh, please don't know. I think actually this would probably be better if I was listening to Stephen Fry.
Yes, because it's
Because,
just so good.
you know, he played Oscar Wilde, didn't he, in the film Wilde?
Yeah.
But I like his voice. I like Stephen Fry. He's brilliant.
When he's
and
reading his...
I think if I was listening to him read this, it would be interesting. It'd be exciting because he would be able to say it in the way it's meant. You know what I mean?
He narrates quite a lot. I know on Audible he narrates all of the Sherlock Holmes compendium, and it's like 77 hours long. Because he went on to Mastermind as well, and he won that, didn't he?
Yes,
because
he's very, very
so
clever
intelligent.
man. Very clever.
And then he narrates his own Greek mythology, so he's got mythos, heroes, and Troy.
Yeah.
And then he narrates like all the Harry Potter.
Yeah, but he had a problem with the Harry Potter one, didn't he? It was a line that Harry had to say, and he couldn't say it, and he contacted J.K. Rowling and he said, "Would you mind if I said it like this?" And she went, "Yeah, I would." The Edward Marsden Signal for Vengeance, which you can see is not too thick, but a thickish book, because I'm doing my course as well, and that was really intensive, and I was ready to throw things out the window. I started it on the 24th of May and finished it on the 26th of May. Now, Dorian Gray, I started on the 27th of May.
And you're still reading it on the 2nd of June?
And I'm on chapter 5.
Page 60. Your bookmark's upside down, by the way.
Yeah, no, I don't care, I'm just...
I know, she just threw it in there.
I did. So I'm really having difficulty with that, but I will persevere.
Yeah, I can't wait to read the Lunar Chronicles.
Yes.
I can't wait to get these read, to be honest. I'm going to start Magnolia Park tonight.
Right. I'm going to start...
I'll let you know how we get on with that.
A Darker Shade of Magic.
I think you're going to really like that. I haven't read it yet, but from what I can see...
I sort of had a little flick at the first page because I was umming and ahhing whether to start that. And I thought, no, I'll get some library books because I can't focus on it while I was doing my course. And my course now, I've done all the coursework and everything, so it's just master classes that I have to go to between 4 and 5. So I've got the rest of the day, so I can read this during the day.
Take it with you if you go anywhere?
Well, yes. My appointments, no problem. Because when you sit in hospitals, you need to. I get there so early and I go, "It don't matter, I've got a book." and I can read my library books at night.
Yeah.
And so I can take them back then.
Good.
So yeah, looking forward to actually reading this, but more to the Lunar Chronicles. So I can't wait for July with the Lunar Chronicles. They're so different. They're so good.
Good. So that's our review and our chit chat for this month.
Yeah.
We hope you enjoyed it. Let us know if any of your opinions differ from ours. If you've read any of Eyes Like Mine by Sheena Kamal, The Bell Jar by Sylvia Plath, I Will Find You by Harlan Coburn. What was your read, sorry? Daisy and Chains by Sharon Bolton. Or even if you have read It Ends With Us by Colin Hoover, let us know what your thoughts were. I will get to that eventually, but again it'll be later in the year. And if you're reading or plan to read any of the ones that we've got coming up in the future, just drop us a message, send us a message on Instagram or send us messages on Facebook and let us know what you thought of them, or just drop by and say hi.
Yes,
as well.
That'd be nice to say hi.
So keep reading, guys, and take care.
Bye.
Bye.